Hello, my name is Lisa White, and my talk is on engineering ideas and principles that I've observed that have been helpful in developing maintainable systems. So a little bit of background about me. As Katie mentioned, I work with Katie at Twitter, and we're on the streaming team. So in the past, I've worked on a couple different things like web applications, internal services, REST APIs, but right now I think I found my niche in backend systems and really enjoying working on creating streaming APIs that provide Twitter data in real time. So the principles that I'm going to talk about are focused around two main themes, which are collaboration and also operations. On the topic of collaboration, this quote really resonated with me. Everyone you will ever meet knows something that you don't. And I think that this really comes into play when we talk about pairing and code reviews, and a couple of the other speakers have touched on this, but in my experience, I found code reviews and pairing to be extremely beneficial in getting up to speed on systems and also getting feedback on the best way to build things. And in my current job, it's something that we do a lot, and when I first joined my team, I definitely had a strong case of imposter syndrome. So a lot of my team members were very experienced in distributed systems and complex architectures, and I was really kind of nervous about my ability to provide constructive feedback and to be able to provide them with reviews that were helpful. But what they helped me realize is that we're all able to provide valuable feedback, and even sometimes just a fresh perspective and asking questions can make them realize things that they hadn't thought of. Or you might be able to give things like quick IDE tips or the best way to do something in a terminal. And those are things that you really can't pick up in other ways other than, pairing is a great way to pick up those kinds of things because, you'd be like, oh, how did you do that? That was really awesome. And so I have realized that we're all able to provide good feedback, and even if you might not have the best feedback for someone, just by asking those questions and getting up to speed on those systems, that leads to collective code ownership. So if I work with a senior member of my team on a project that they've been working on for a while, and then we're able to collectively own that as a group. So then if they move on to some other project, or even if they're going to take a vacation, we don't have to worry about having a single point of failure. And by having everyone on the team work together on different parts of the system, then we all understand it, and we don't have to wait for one developer to develop a certain feature or be a roadblock, and they can take vacation without having to worry about getting called while they're trying to hike the Inca Trail or something like that. And then along the lines of collective code ownership, another thing that I found to be really useful is to have dedicated team ownership of all the different systems so that we know who is in charge of what, and the team responsible for it and all the members of it are able to deal with any kind of operational issues that come up and not have to get up to speed as issues arise. So speaking of operational issues, this sketch I think kind of outlines pretty well that in order to deal with production issues that might come up, you need a process for finding them. And I'll give you a second to look at it. But the idea here is that by having automation tools and different tools and processes in place is how we actually find those kinds of issues. So the two things that I found to be really useful on the operation front are metrics and alerting. So having metrics on things like latency or messaging queue lag or garbage collection time and general system performance things can provide a lot of insight into what's happening. And by keeping track of these metrics and then perhaps creating kind of dashboards around what's going on in the system, we can get a really good idea about what's happening, how things change when new features are added, and understand if there's a problem, what's going on in the system, and help diagnose any issues that arise. And in addition to creating pretty graphs with metrics, the other important thing is setting up alerts. So alerts on things like high latency or things like that can help you find issues before the customer reports them. And hopefully before it even impacts the customer. Ideally we have systems and metrics in place to track down things before they affect the customer. And that's great to alert when things are going wrong, but even better than that, it would be great to find those issues before they even make it out into the production environment where they would be affecting customers. So with that, I wanted to touch a little bit on quality engineering and this idea of having system tests set up in a staging environment and running through full system tests to track down issues before they make it to production. And by testing things as a whole system, as opposed to only testing the individual units, I've experienced finding issues or big changes in performance at this stage, and then finding it in staging before it actually were to go out to production, and then making sure to address that before it gets out there. So to kind of wrap up, with these different ideas around collaboration and operational efficiencies, I found them to be really useful in having a system that's more easily maintainable. And by having things like metrics and alerts and my whole team owning things collectively rather than having single owners, I think that that has made me feel more comfortable in being responsible for systems and just happier development environment because we're all kind of in it together and have systems in place to be able to respond to things that come up. So this is a topic that I love to talk about, so if you have any ideas in these areas and want to talk afterwards or have questions about what I've talked about, I'll be around. Thank you.